Hello everyone, Gusha here. Today I'm talking about safe relating and a way to safely connecting with other people. This is for all highly sensitive people, especially the introverted one, the empaths and the INFJ, NFP personality type people who maybe even sometimes feel threatened by diverse types of people, especially those that are unlike us. So in this video, I will be talking about the ways that I found that allows us to connect safely with diverse people while remaining strong, confident, resourced, empowered, and feeling safe. This is the most important thing, that you feel safe when dealing with various people, that you can stay authentic in yourself. I want to start by saying that relationships have various functions. So if you have connections with various people, it is not always about emotional relating. Some people will disagree, and I know a lot of highly sensitive people might cringe a little bit when I say this, that relationships are a lot about transactions. And I don't mean transaction as in a shop when you go and exchange something for money, because this also seems to violate your integrity, that idea. But transaction as an exchange of energy. So exchange of something. The entire universe works on that rule of exchange of energies, and the same goes where we relate to others. What kind of energies do I mean? I mean not always emotional energies, but it is going to always be an important aspect for highly sensitive people. I want to talk about this because there are various different types of exchanges that people get into in relationships. In some relationships, you will not get a very high quality emotional exchange with people, with a person. But you might get another form of exchange with that person. Maybe they are great at solving problems, right? Maybe they are very practical and their perspective is very, very advantageous for you to have that person in your life. Let's assume that there's another type of relating and another type of exchange that you don't really have in your life, or someone is really strong physically and they're a handy person to have in your life when it comes to supporting you with the physical strength, while you offer them something that is your gift. Maybe you are good at lending them listening ear, or maybe you are good at comforting them or something like that. Let's just leave this idea on the side, but I really wanted to introduce this into the further discussion that I have to share. Generally, like I said, highly sensitive people, especially empaths, especially INFJ personality type people, have a history of betrayal, invalidation, difficulties, and unsafe relating. This is because their high sensitivity and their different perception, different way of perceiving things that make people see them as weird, make them see them as difficult or demanding or whatever. Or maybe they are just narcissistic type people or some toxic type people, and they just don't care. They just prioritize themselves completely, and they don't care that they are hurting you all the time. So these are some of the very common experiences in the lives of empaths and INFJ, right? And what happens as a natural thing, there happens avoidance and the need to withdraw, the need for solitude, the need to isolate, the need to go into a hermit mode and try to protect yourself in a sort of bubble, to stay away from virtually all kinds of people. So it's like throwing a baby with a bath water, right? And this is very common for highly sensitive people to avoid many things. I've been talking about this in many other videos. But basically what happens, it might lead them to maybe go and seek out very similar people like themselves. Maybe go into the groups of other empaths, other highly sensitive people, seek someone to validate them. And this is really, really great thing to do. But it also has a downside. The downside is that it is reaffirming the inability to coexist with these various relationships, even when there are people with, well, varying degree of altruism or varying level of compassion or varying level of empathy for other people, right? And they only take care of themselves. Now, I don't want to say that it is ever advantageous to be in those kind of relationships, but it is helpful for us to know how to relate with them, because not everyone has the comfort to just cut out someone from their life. Maybe it's a close family member, or maybe you need that person in your life, like I was saying in the beginning, for what they are bringing into the relationship. That is something that you might need, right? So there are various reasons why you cannot cut this person out from your life, which might be exactly what you would want to do, and many of us have done, to, stay in our bubble, stay protected, cut out any unnecessary toxicity or negativity from our life. This is something that I actually do support. But it is also advantageous to grow enough power inside of ourselves to be safely relating with almost all people. It might seem like something that is completely out of reach and completely incomprehensible for someone like us. How would I be safely relating with people that don't have my best interests in their heart? How is that possible to connect with people that are completely different, diverse, that don't think like we do, right? Because becoming hermetic and just locking yourself either alone or locking yourself in those supportive groups and validating groups, which is important, is moving you farther from being able to enrich your life by different ideas that come even from people that you don't agree with. Actually, all growth in our life comes from people actually being a little bit like obstacles in our life, from them disagreeing with us. There comes growth from it, and it's not something that we want to completely cross out from our life, because any obstacle, any challenge actually grows your resilience. I know this is very counterintuitive to what you would want to do if you want to, like I said in my last video, just lock yourself in a cottage house, live in the middle of a forest, stay away from all people and cut yourself from all the nonsense and just put a pillow on your head and just be alone, right? And here I'm introducing you something else. Why I'm introducing something else is because I know this is possible to feel safe while being in a completely diverse groups of people or society or populations where you disagree with them. You disagree with their opinions, you disagree with their approach to life, you disagree with their values, you disagree with like everything that they are. And this is still possible to safely relate with these kind of people, to feel safe when they are in your radar, when they are in a room with you. I'm not saying it's going to be the most pleasurable experience. I'm not saying you're gonna become the best friends. Maybe that's not supposed to be, but you can still build, develop, and remain safe, remain feeling safe most of the times. Sometimes we lose our, head in some sort of argument, but generally feel safe in diverse relationships, even those that you don't feel like they are good for you. I will give you an example. An example is that right now I live, and by choice, in a house with a narcissist. This is the closest of close family members that you can think of. It's one of my parents, and I have lived away from my home house for 20 years when I was living abroad in all kinds of places. And for a while, actually those 2 decades, I was really avoiding ever coming back to the family home. And for most of this time, it was an unconscious resistance to just protect myself. I just wanted to do it, to stay away, not to be even in that energy, because I couldn't deal with it. And why I decided to come back is to test how I've developed over this time. Another reason I did that for was to learn from all the life situations and observe very acutely in the moment my own internal energies and my own internal reactions, and practice my energy and how I remain steady and empowered in all the various situations that he might want to test me, he might want to try me, he might want to manipulate me, he might want to provoke me. And it's been very informative, because you can heal a lot of wounds, you can heal a lot of things when you remain hermetically kind of isolated and protecting yourself from everyone. You might do all kinds of meditations, you might do all kinds of journaling, but the real test happens when you are faced with people that are the most triggering you, that created these initial triggers in the first place, especially in early childhood. These kind of people are the real test. It's not exactly my vision of success to remain in the sort of echo chambers of communities of people just like you, who everyone just says the same thing. It's a good for transition, it's a good for validation, but it's not good for growth. It's good for momentary kind of refuge where you have no one to connect with or something like that. But this is not your ultimate world. It doesn't represent the world that we live in. And we cannot protect ourselves from reality. Trying to only stay in this kind of communities would be an illusion. It's not the real world. It's not how everything works. We were given a diverse society so that we can grow, so that we can strengthen ourselves, build our resilience, become wiser, become more empowered, become more authentic. And it cannot happen when everyone is speaking the same voice. We need a challenge. We need difference. We need diversity. We need certain obstacles and sort of clashes with other people who think, perceive, act differently than us, so that we can better understand ourselves, so that we can advance, that we can evolve. We cannot do it in echo chambers. Now, after I've healed my wounds, after I've come to different realizations, I've also developed this inner power that I want to talk to you about, that is the source of feeling safe. No, I don't want to say no matter. There are situations that you're not supposed to feel safe when someone threatens you. But no matter these general kind of day-to-day relationships that arise. So what is that mysterious power that I'm referring to that allows you to stay safe, that allows you to stay resourced, that allows you to stay empowered? And this is feeling connected and grounded through your body. It is the power that you find by tapping into especially the lower parts of your body and feeling alive in those parts that have been frozen through trauma. When feeling unsafe comes with a different energy. It comes with energy raising up from the body and oftentimes floating out even from our heads, or being in our heads, or completely dissociating, maybe bypassing spiritually, going into creativity, all sorts of escapism tactics that many highly sensitive empaths and INFJ have in their lives. Now, the path to safely relate with all kinds of people is by having a way, by reconnecting with yourself and monitoring what is going on inside of you so that we can respond to any situation in the moment. This is really important because when our initial level of safety, the sense of safety is threatened, we lose touch with actually the moment. We go up into our heads and we strategize what this person wants. What do they need? Maybe I have to please them. Maybe I have to phone. Maybe I have to do this. Maybe I have to do that. Blah, 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 blah. It's all the time strategizing, right? It's all the time analyzing what this person did. What was their expression of their face? What was their body motion, or did it mean something for me, right? So it's all the time like scanning, it's all the time strategizing. But unfortunately, this cuts you off from how you feel. It's all the time about controlling the environment. It's all the time about controlling other people. And I'm not saying this in the sense that you control them like manipulators do, but it's a different way of controlling and manipulating through pleasing, through you molding yourself, through you adjusting yourself. It's also a form of manipulation that is more covert, that happens to manage environment less powerfully, not as forcefully, but still it tries to do something to the environment. Rather than tapping into yourself and deciding creatively, what do I want in this moment? What feels right for me? So these things are reliant on a completely different energy and a completely different approach that is mostly inaccessible and unfamiliar to most highly sensitive empaths and INFJ personality type people, because they are so used to, for most of their life, staying in a different way of dealing with problems. They deal with the problems from their head, from their power. One thing that makes us feel safe the most is knowing that we can always say yes or no according to what we actually want. This is called boundaries, right? This is when we can signal and say and be direct with others easily. This is where the exchange, the energetical exchange, has its boundaries. We say no and people know what we mean. But when you are not embodied, when you are not feeling connected, your mind, body is not connected, boundaries become a big problem. Maybe if you worked on your boundaries, which is a very big challenge for highly sensitive people and empaths, you might have noticed that it's hard. It's super hard. You try to prepare yourself. You know what you're supposed to do, but something is stronger than you are. You become weaker when it comes to the actual saying what you want, what you need, or what you don't want. When it comes to the actual interactions, exchange, or putting the boundary on the energy, you become feeling like you're not resourced enough, like you too worried what other people is saying, what are their reactions going to be like, and all these kind of things. That's because you are not connected to yourself. You're more connected to them. By this example, you can understand how this mind-body connection is really one of the fundamentals for feeling safe. I do remember very well times when it was very hard for me, but now for me, I just say it. I don't think about it. Most of the day-to-day boundaries, even with that narcissistic person in my life, I don't even think about what to say. It's just effortless for me. I just say what I mean when I mean it, because I'm more in tune with myself than with that person, which used to not be a case, because as an empath, I was always so tapped into everyone from the times when I was a tiny baby. And I remember this perfectly, when I would just like freeze in fear, worried what other people are thinking, just looking at expressions of their faces and all these kind of things that felt like they were threatening me. And these things made me feel unsafe in myself, and it made me act in a way that was inauthentic. That's why learning and developing the ideas of mind-body connection has been what created a fundamental shift in my life and helped me connect over time more and more and more with my power, and develop more and more that sense of authenticity that then even strengthens me farther, because this is how it works. When you have a fear loop of feedback, it happens that you are doing then things from that fear state, and then the fearful actions produce more of that result, and then you feel even more fearful because obviously there is a feedback. When you act from an empowered state that is best coming from actually physically felt empowered state, not just conceptually empowered state when you say something, but there is no strength in you, and the vibration that you're sending through your voice, through your posture, they don't signal that power. They don't have that confidence. They don't have that calmness and the confidence that what you're doing is right. There is doubt, and people can sense this doubt. That's why I say the mind-body connection is what dramatically changes the vibration, the energy we operate when we connect with other people. And only through connecting the mind and the body, so that we have that constant feedback of what's going on, not what we are feeding back with environment, but what we are feeding back with ourselves. And then with environment, it gives us this power that we're constantly missing when, for example, you are all the time tapped into the external environment and just all the time overwhelmed by inviting these stimuli into your system. This is what causes overwhelm, and I also talked about it in one of the recent videos. Now, obviously, this way of being is a great reason for stress. It's a great source of stress and anxiety and overwhelm. And if this is you, then I really encourage you to definitely sign up to my newsletter, because I will be very shortly sending a an ultimate mind-body toolkit for stress resolution for highly sensitive empaths and INFJ people, where I dive deeper into how we can action steps when we are in a stressful situation. This is the times when you are most disconnected from your body, and this is good to have something handy. This is good to have something to refer to, what to do in that moment when we completely forget who we are, what is happening. We just go into that stress response, right? So if you are interested in this, definitely sign up to my newsletter through the link in the description of this video. I will be sharing this in probably the next few days. I'm working on this and I want to make it as good as possible. And then going forward, that will be something that all my newsletter subscribers get from me. But I really encourage you to let this idea sink, that you can relate safely with all kinds of people. You will remain introvert if you are an introvert. You will remain a highly sensitive person, but you can turn this to work for you so that you use your high sensitivity to let you know what you have to do and not to jump just on the sign of any danger and try to run away from this or try to manage these people. There are other sources, and the biggest source of power is you and your body.